Welcome to the Mariana Trench, the deepest and most hostile environment on our planet. At a crushing depth of exactly 7 miles down, sunlight is just a distant memory. Plunging into this abyss, the pressure mounts, and every instinct screams to turn back. But the ocean floor is hiding a secret far bigger than we ever imagined. Our first clue is a violently crushed, rusted submarine wreck resting in the dark. The intense water pressure down here destroys solid steel in a matter of seconds. But scratching our heads and reviewing the damage, something doesn't add up. Something massive grabbed this vessel and tore it apart like an aluminum can. In this cinematic ocean depth, total darkness consumes absolutely everything. With no sunlight reaching this far down, natural vision is completely impossible. Igniting a glowing flare is the only way to pierce the suffocating, heavy void. And what the sudden burst of light reveals is truly the stuff of nightmares. We expected to find bizarre, translucent, deep-sea fish lurking in the cold, but these creatures, completely missing their eyes, challenge everything we know about evolution. Sketching their strange anatomy, a disturbing, terrifying truth becomes apparent. They didn't lose their eyes over time. They evolved to hide from something else. Back in 2014, a highly classified submarine sonar screen captured an anomaly. A massive, jagged audio waveform pierced through the standard ocean frequencies. Listening to the playback through headphones, the deafening sound induces absolute panic. It wasn't a whale, and it wasn't a machine. It was a terrifying, guttural roar. Suddenly, a terrifyingly large silhouette glides silently through the murky depths. The sheer, unknown size of this massive shadow defies all biological limits. Dropping our notes in absolute terror, we realize the true apex predator is here. A leviathan of impossible proportions, claiming the black abyss as its own. Pushing further, we encounter a barren ocean floor covered in flat white sediment. The ultra-detailed white sand creates an eerie, perfectly smooth underwater desert. Sweeping away the loose layer, the ground beneath feels entirely unnatural. It isn't sand at all. It's a thick, endless layer of pulverized, crushed bone. Cutting directly across the white floor are giant, unnatural drag marks. These massive trenches look like they were carved by heavy industrial equipment. Struggling to measure the sheer width of the gap, the numbers simply don't make sense. Whatever was dragged through this sector weighed hundreds of thousands of tons. Even more unsettling are massive, deep-crawling tracks pressed firmly into the mud. The strange underwater sand displacement indicates a colossal, crawling entity. Lying completely flat inside just one track shows its horrifying, gigantic scale. We are following the fresh path of an ancient, walking titan. Suddenly, the dark water illuminates with glowing blue and green bioluminescence, but analyzing the glowing dots reveals a completely wrong, rigid, geometric pattern. Reaching out to touch the lights, they pulse with an intelligent, mathematical rhythm. This isn't biology, it's a massive, synchronized underwater grid. The cinematic water begins flashing rhythmically, mimicking a deep-sea Morse code. We intercept a complex, repeating signal echoing through the darkest trench. Frantically attempting to decipher the glowing dots with a codebook, a message forms. The ocean itself is trying to communicate a terrifying, desperate warning. The mystery deepens globally, pointing us to the massive blue ice of Lake Vostok. Under thousands of meters of solid ice, a hidden world has been perfectly isolated. Wiping away the ancient frost, we peer into the frozen, dark depth below. An entire subglacial ecosystem sealed away for millions of years. Trapped under thick, ancient ice, this dark subglacial lake has been untouched for 15 million years. Completely isolated from the rest of the planet's atmosphere, biology, and time. Setting up a perimeter, we prepare to breach the untouchable, frozen surface. What lies beneath the ice has been waiting patiently in the dark. An industrial metal drill bit violently breaks through the freezing blue ice. The deep penetration sends heavy, realistic ice shards flying in every direction. Running from the massive debris, the true scale of the operation is revealed. We have finally punctured the roof of an alien, subterranean world. Microscopic analysis immediately identifies extremely strange, glowing alien DNA. We are looking at a completely unknown bacteria that absolutely defies Earth's biology. Holding the glowing green test tube, a horrifying realization sets in. This primitive life form is highly active, and it is rapidly mutating. Below the surface, large, ultra-detailed bubbles rise rapidly from the dark lake bottom. The readings show impossibly high levels of pure oxygen trapped in the water. Floating upwards inside the massive bubbles, the pressure is incredibly intense. Something colossal down there is actively breathing. Massive, dark, abstract shapes begin swimming upwards from the underwater abyss. Unmistakable movement is detected by our long-range optical sensors. Tracking the giant, shadowy figures, our instruments struggle to lock on. Colossal objects rising from the deep, defying all logical explanation. On the surface, we lean entirely forward against a harsh Antarctic blizzard. The extreme weather makes this investigation incredibly dangerous and painfully slow. Fighting through the heavy, blinding snow, every single step is a battle for survival. The frozen continent is actively trying to keep its secrets buried, but underground ground-penetrating radar screens reveal impossible geometry. Distinct metal anomalies are shining brightly through the thick ice layers. Mapping the screen, perfect geometric squares become undeniably visible. An entirely artificial, buried grid hiding beneath the frozen wasteland. We extract an ancient ice core sample, pulling up completely different air. The ultra-detailed trapped gas bubbles contain a prehistoric atmosphere. Brushing the snow off the giant frozen cylinder, we prepare to analyze its contents. The air trapped inside is toxic, proving this environment was once radically different. Deep underwater, a violent thermal vent blasts superheated, boiling water. This intense boiling heat creates aggressive distortion in a totally alien place. Testing the extreme temperatures, the sheer contrast of the environment is absurd. A fiery inferno raging in the dead center of a frozen, submerged desert. To find the source, we travel to the epic, endless, dark canopy of the Congo Basin. This incredibly dense jungle has remained largely untouched by modern civilization. Scanning across the vast, endless green from high above, the scale is dizzying. The jungle holds ancient secrets just as terrifying as the deep ocean. The thick green jungle canopy is so dense there is absolutely no ground visible. This thick canopy acts like a solid roof, completely blocking out all sunlight. Dropping a stone through the leaves, we try to gauge the sheer drop below. Beneath the green lies a terrifying, suffocating abyss of shadows. We descend into an eerie twilight on the gloomy, claustrophobic jungle floor. The thick, hanging vines trap the forest in permanent, terrifying shadows. Cutting a path through the vegetation, every movement requires extreme effort. The jungle floor feels like a living, breathing trap closing in around us. Strange green mushrooms illuminate the dark forest floor with glowing fungi. The air is dangerously thick with floating, highly toxic, glowing spores. Collecting a deadly sample for analysis, the glow is unmistakably unnatural. An alien fungal network is quietly digesting the rotting jungle floor. Creepy, distorted shadows stretch unnaturally between the massive, ancient trees. The toxic air triggers severe, terrifying visual hallucinations in the dark. Shining a bright flashlight aggressively, the darkness itself seems to be moving. The shadows are no longer just shadows, they are closing in. Deep within the impenetrable foliage, we find signs of an uncontacted presence. Crude, primitive markings on the tree trunks point to an isolated tribe. Examining the marks closely, we realize we are actively being hunted. They have been watching us from the ancient trees since we arrived. An aerial drone shot reveals a perfectly round clearing of dead dirt in the jungle. The drone footage confirms the exact, impossible geometry of the dead zone. Flying over the bizarre clearing, the silence below is completely deafening. A massive, perfect circle where absolutely nothing is allowed to grow. Examining a macro close-up of the dead, flat dirt reveals completely sterile soil. There is absolutely no growth, no insects, and no life of any kind. Collecting a sample in a glass vial, the earth here is completely ruined. A toxic, irradiated footprint burned deeply into the heart of the Congo. Beside the clearing, an enormous, terrifyingly realistic giant humanoid footprint is pressed into the mud. The toe angles and depth prove this creature is massive and strictly bipedal. Matching our own shoe to the print, the size comparison is absolutely horrifying. Giants are not a myth. They are currently walking through this very jungle. Stuck deep into the jungle ground is a massive, crudely carved wooden spear. The sheer weight and size of this wooden spear prove these are not apes. Analyzing the carved wood, the weapon was made with terrifying intelligence. A brutal tool crafted by hands much, much larger than our own. Deep inside a hidden clearing, rotting fruit and realistic animal bones sit on a stone altar. The absolute, heavy silence surrounding these dark offerings is deeply unsettling. Photographing the ancient bone altar, a sickening pattern emerges. This wasn't an ancient sacrifice. This altar was used just days ago. Returning to Antarctica, a cross-section reveals the hidden Gamburtsev mountain range. These impossibly huge, jagged peaks are completely buried under a flat glacier. Analyzing a geological map on the ice, the scale of the deception is massive. An entire mountain range erased from the surface of the Earth. A solitary, razor-sharp mountain peak stands encased entirely in deep blue ice. Rising 9,000 feet into the dark, it's a summit that has never been seen by human eyes. Climbing the treacherous ice wall requires extreme caution and heavy gear. A monumental peak frozen perfectly in time, waiting to be unearthed. Buried in the snow is a vintage 1958 glowing green radar screen. This highly detailed retro technology is impossibly old for this deep sector. Dusting off the old vintage machinery, it still draws a faint, weak power current. A secret military presence was mapping these anomalies decades before us. The exposed mountain peaks piercing through the ice are extremely, unnaturally sharp. The complete lack of weather and wind beneath the ice means there is absolutely no erosion. Standing beside the razor-sharp rock, the edges look as if they were freshly cut. These aren't natural mountains. They are composed of something entirely different. A realistic scientific geology textbook lies abandoned and open in the snow. Every known law of geology is completely broken by what we are witnessing. Pointing an accusing finger at the textbook, standard science fails us here. The Earth's crust in this sector was intentionally, artificially manipulated. A perfect rectangular doorway opens into a massive, dark cavern inside the mountain. The angles of the cavern entrance are simply too precise to be formed by nature. Throwing a glowing green glow stick into the doorway, the absolute darkness swallows the light. A massive, ancient subterranean vault hiding beneath the ice. A high-tech, realistic antenna scans the frozen cinematic landscape for a radio signal. We detect a weak pulse, repeating on a highly classified frequency. Adjusting the dials on the receiver, we desperately try to catch the fading broadcast. A distress beacon transmitting from deep inside the frozen mountain. Suddenly, the blinding sun shines harsh, aggressive rays down onto the flat ice. The unnatural solar angle creates severe, highly dangerous sun radiation. Looking confidently at the blinding sun, the heat threatens to burn through our gear. The atmosphere above the anomaly is rapidly, dangerously thinning. Embedded directly inside the solid blue ice are massive chunks of raw, silver titanium. The metal detector buzzes wildly as foreign, refined metal is detected. Scanning the ice reveals a massive, continuous metallic structure hidden below. An artificial armored hull buried deep beneath the Antarctic permafrost. A highly detailed dark wooden desk is covered in top-secret files and classified photos. Documents marked heavily with top-secret stamps attempt to bury the terrifying truth. Stamping the red seal on a folder, the global cover-up is absolute. The case is officially closed, but the overwhelming evidence is impossible to ignore. Under the terrifyingly dark Antarctic night sky, the endless icy wasteland sits quietly. Writing down our ultimate, final conclusion, the truth is inescapable. We are looking at a massive, glowing red question mark pulsing in the sky. None of this is natural, and whatever is down there is finally waking up.